This idol has been with me since 11 years now. I share some more stories and updates on my Instagram profile time to time. I will provide the link in the description box below. Today we are celebrating the most popular god. His idols are omnipresent in nearly every corner of our country. Why not? Ganesha is formed by two words, Gana, which means masses of people, and Isha is used to refer to a god. This quite literally makes Ganesha as the Lord of Masses. Lord Ganesha has been worshipped for many years and his stories have gained a lot of popularity. Today, let's recall some of his stories that you might have heard in your childhood. These are my absolute favorite ones. Let's start with the very story of his birth. His birth story is unique and special. Why? Be with me. So, Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati, who are the parents of Lord Ganesha, would stay on Mount Kailash. And most of the time, Shiva would be out fulfilling other responsibilities, while Parvati was alone at the mountain. One day, on such a similar occasion, Parvati had to go to take a bath and did not wish to be disturbed by anyone at all. It's when Parvati ended up making a statue of a child from turmeric and breathed life into him. She called the child Ganesha, and he was absolutely loyal to her. She asked him to guard the home while she took a bath. Yet again, Shiva showed up and proceeded to enter the house. But this time he was stopped by Ganesha, who refused to move aside. Shiva did not know who this unknown child is. So, he asked his forces to destroy the child. But Ganesha had the powers bestowed on him by Parvati and defeated Shiva's army. Shiva, known for his extreme fury, lost his control on his temper and ended up beheading Ganesha. When Parvati stepped out and saw the dead body of her creation, her fury knew no bounds. She lashed out at Shiva and threatened to destroy the entire universe as a consequence of those actions. Now, the universe was the responsibility of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahma witnessed the wrath of Parvati and apologized on behalf of Shiva to her, advising her to not destroy the universe. Parvati relented on the condition that Ganesha be brought back to life and be worshipped as a primary god. Shiva too realized the mistake he committed in his rage and apologized to Parvati. He advised his troops to go into the forest and get the head of the first animal they spot. Incidentally, they came across an elephant and brought back his head. This was then placed over the body, and then Shiva brought back him to life, also accepting him as his own son. This is how Ganesha was born as we know, and is now worshipped as the god of gods. As much as this story talks about the birth, it teaches us an important lesson on how anger can cause harm to our near and dear ones, and how necessary it is to rectify our mistakes as soon as we can. This is a very basic sandwich that I made today with one leftover potato from last night that saved my time. There is one more recipe of potato sandwich on my channel. If you wish, you may please check out. Another story that I love is the story of Shiva's failed battle. So, Lord Shiva and Lord Ganesha have many stories together. However, this story goes beyond the relationship between a father and a son and teaches a very important lesson. So, when the elephant head was procured and Ganesha was brought back to life, Shiva heeded Parvati's wishes and made it a rule that before beginning of any new endeavor, it was necessary to worship Lord Ganesha and get his blessings. However, Shiva forgot the rule that it applied to him as well. On one such occasion, Shiva was heading out to war with the demons and proceeded to take his entire army along with him for it. But in the rush of leaving for the battle, he forgot to worship Ganesha first. This led to them facing many problems even before reaching the battlefield. On the way to the location of the battle, the war carriage wheel was damaged and the progress came to an halt. This seemed like a divine intervention to Shiva, and he suddenly remembered that he had totally forgotten to worship Ganesha before heading for the battle. Stopping all his troops, Shiva proceeded to set up the puja then and there and completed the rituals, worshipping Ganesha. With Ganesha's blessings, Shiva proceeded ahead and he and his army were successful in defeating the demons completely. The moral of the story? This just goes to show that no matter who you are, once you have created a rule, it applies to everyone equally. The next story which I am going to tell you is the cutest story of Lord Ganesha, the story of Kubera's downfall. So, Kubera is known as the wealthiest god of the entire universe. He had a treasure trove of wealth and would hoard everything to himself with pride. One day, he invited many guests over for the dinner, including Shiva and Parvati, but they both could not attend the dinner, so they sent over Ganesha as their representative. Ganesha noticed how Kubera's behavior was and he decided to let his antics loose. He began devouring the dinner speedily and ended up finishing all the food, leaving barely anything for any other guests. Yet his hunger was not satisfied. So he ended up entering Kubera's wealth collection and started eating all the golds and wealthy items. Still unsatisfied, Ganesha then proceeded to eat Kubera himself, who ran to Mount Kailash for protection. Shiva, seeing the reason behind Ganesha's doing, offered a simple ball of cereal to Ganesha. He ate them and immediately was satisfied. Kubera learned not to amass wealth greedily and agreed to distribute it amongst everyone. Moral of the story? The story shows how greed and pride can be harmful to a person, and it is necessary to be considerate towards everyone. Now, next is the story of Ganesha's wisdom. This story gives me goosebumps every time. So, Lord Ganesha is called the god of knowledge and wisdom, and there is a spectacular story that illustrates why is it so. Ganesha had a younger brother called Kartikeya. Both would get along very well, but just like any other siblings, they would have moments of arguments and fights. On one such day, Ganesha and Kartikeya both ended up finding a unique fruit in the forest and grabbed it together. They refused to share with each other and started claiming that the fruit belongs to themselves. When they reached Mount Kailash and presented this to Shiva and Parvati, Shiva made a proposition. He recognized the fruit and said that this fruit is known to grant immorality and extensive knowledge when eaten by the rightful bearer of it. To choose who gets it, Shiva proposed a challenge. He asked Ganesha and Kartikeya to circle around the world 3 times. Whoever would do so first and return to Mount Kailash would be the rightful owner of the fruit. Kartikeya immediately hopped into his pet peacock and flew speedily to complete 3 revolutions around the earth. Ganesha was a little stocky compared to Kartikeya, and his pet was a rat who couldn't fly. Having listened to Shiva's proposal properly, Ganesha started walking around Shiva and Parvati and completed 3 circles around them. When asked by Shiva, Ganesha replied that Shiva had asked him to circumvent their world, and for Ganesha, his parents were more than the world. They were the entire universe. Shiva was so touched and impressed by Ganesha's wisdom and saw him as a rightful owner of the fruit. The moral of the story? Not only does the story give a great example of how using your wisdom can help resolve a situation smartly, but it also teaches that your parents should be given the respect and love they deserve. The puja day are always tiring, but at the end of the day, it's all worth it.